Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to my 3 takeaways episode from the Celeste Headlee interview this past Monday. I don't even know how I'm able to boil it down to 3, honestly, for this episode. I was actually texting a friend last night, and he was talking about how he's listened to her a lot of times, and there are just so many different takeaways from her knowledge and from her experience. And I feel like the thing that makes her such a powerful speaker and such a powerful person that we can all relate to is because she speaks on a topic that everybody is fascinated with and that everybody has experience with, and that's conversations. And everybody wants to have the best conversations with other people because that's human nature, to want to build relationships in the best way possible. And how we do that is by having the best conversations as possible. So if you guys really enjoyed this episode with Celeste, make sure you give the podcast a 5-star review. Scroll down to the bottom of the Apple Podcast app, click 5 stars, write a quick review, write your favorite takeaway that Celeste had to give. I'm really interested. It took me a long time to boil it down just to 3. So I'm interested to hear what your top 2 or top 3 takeaways are for yourself. Also, you can leave a review on iTunes, and make sure you tag us on Instagram, tag me and Celeste, to let us know your favorite part and to let us know you listened and that you got a lot from it. But outside of that, let's get right into my 3 takeaways. Number 1 is listen to learn. And she talks about a Stephen Covey quote that she loves and that I love for sure. It's listen with the intent to understand, not with the intent to respond. Because I think a lot of us get caught in the trap, not knowingly and not on purpose, but we get caught when we're listening to somebody else. We just want to interject with our own opinion, and we start formulating our own response beforehand. So instead of trying to go right to our own opinion or our own response that we want to generate, like completely listen to the other person. Be able to learn where they're coming from. If we go in with the intent, like she said during the interview, with the intent to learn something from that person, what that person knows more than anybody else in the entire world. If we go in with that, then we won't even look to formulate our own response. If we just fully understand and want to grasp what they're talking about, then we're going to be super engaged in every single word that they say, and we're not going to be formulating a response beforehand. Takeaway number 2 is emails are only better with ... because I think this is such a powerful topic for us to think about, because how much do we use email on a daily basis? I mean, you look at somebody's Gmail, you look at somebody's Outlook when you pull it up, and how many emails do they have in their inbox that they haven't deleted? That just stresses me out just looking at it. But when she talked about how emails are really only better in a few senses, it was so powerful. So stop hiding behind email. Give people a phone call. Shoot people a text. I mean, give them a phone call. Be on the phone with them so you can actually hear their voice. I love the example she talks about during the interview, how we've all had the experience when we've called a friend on the phone and they say something and you say, "What's wrong?" Because over time, us humans have developed an ear that we have a knack for getting something out of just our voice. We can interpret something just from the way somebody responds in a particular way with their voice, but we can't get that over a text or over an email. Here are the 3 ways or the 4 ways that emails are better, maybe than over the phone, or where they might be more efficient. Number 1 is attachments, because you just download it and have it on your desktop. Number 2 is if it's a really long message and that person might need to go back and reference that message sometime in the future. Number 3 is an agenda or a list. That way somebody, again, can reference it and can go line by line knowing exactly what they have to do. And it's a quick email. And then number 4 is praise. And I thought this one was really fascinating because she said it might be because it gives you the same hit of endorphins than actually hearing it in person, and because people like to go back and look at their own praise and look at their own feedback that they've gotten from somebody else. Outside of that, she says that from her own experience and from her own studies that basically talking over the phone is going to be much better and much more efficient than going over email. Number 3 is how to start a conversation, because I think this is probably of anything about how to have a better conversation. I think how to start a conversation might be the most difficult thing for us to grasp. I think a lot of us make starting a conversation so difficult. I know I do that all the time. I think oh, what's the best question I can ask? How do I start a conversation with that girl? How do I start a conversation with that waiter? And whatever it is, we make it so difficult starting a conversation because we think we need to ask this grandiose, super intriguing question. But it's no, ask something obvious. Ask them about their tattoo. She talked about that all the time. She says she always asks people about their tattoos. Ask them about their shirt. Ask them about their hair. Ask them about anything about themselves. Like think about, she said this, we think so much about what we wear or what we put on or how we look that there's going to be a story behind it, and people like being asked about that particular thing. And she also said that make sure you ask questions that they know the answer to and that they care about, because that's going to build a really good foundation for the start of that conversation. And that way you have a higher likelihood of creating a deep conversation and a deeper meaning with that person. So again, guys, my 3 takeaways. Number 1 is listen to learn. Again, the Stephen R. Covey quote is listen with the intent to learn, or listen with the intent to understand, not with the intent to respond. So if you go in to a conversation saying, I want to come out of here, I'm not going to leave here until I learn something, then you're going to not even look to form a response before you fully understand and fully grasp where that person is coming from. Number 2 is emails are only better with 4 different scenarios. Number 1 is sending attachments. Number 2 is if it's a long message because someone might need to go back and reference it. Number 3 is an agenda or a list. And number 4 is praise, because people like to go back and hear that praise multiple times in their head. Number 3 is how to start a conversation. Guys, we make starting a conversation 10 times more difficult than it actually has to be. Pick out something super aware or something super obvious from that other person and ask them about it, and ask them questions that they know the answer to and that they care about. Outside of that, guys, those are my 3 takeaways. I hope you guys had a ton of takeaways on your own. I know you did. I mean, this topic is just so cool because everybody has so many conversations on a daily basis, and we all want to build better relationships through better conversations. So if you like this 3 takeaways episode, please go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the Apple Podcast app. Leave it a quick review. I'd love to hear what you thought of it and what your own takeaways were. But other than that, guys, use these takeaways, implement them into your life so you can get closer and closer to your best you.